Welcome to the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast, a podcast dedicated to the profession of pharmacy. Today, we're excited to turn over the podcast to the students from the St. Louis College of Pharmacy at the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy in St. Louis. We give credit to Professors Stephanie Lucas and Terry Walholick for mentoring these students for these leadership podcasts. Let me remind everyone that the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast is available for streaming on your favorite podcast streaming app, whether it be Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or YouTube. The comments and opinions shared today are those of the hosts and our guests and are not official statements of the Missouri Pharmacy Association, Mitchell Pharmacy, Mercy, nor the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy in St. Louis. Today, we welcome 4 students from the pharmacy school with a podcast entitled Dose of Knowledge, Doses and Data.
Welcome to today's episode of Doses and Data. My name is Yusuf Bader.
My name is Christian Frein.
My name is Nick Fiacco. And I'm Jeevan Raj. Today, we're your hosts, and we will be diving into a fascinating and rapidly evolving topic, which is the impact of AI on pharmacy.
To begin, we're going to start off by explaining what artificial intelligence is. Jeevan, can you explain to us what AI is?
Of course, according to IBM, who is a leader in the technology field, artificial intelligence, also known as AI, is technology that enables computers and machines to stimulate human learning, comprehension, problem-solving, decision-making, creativity, and autonomy. Applications and devices equipped with AI can see and identify, understand and respond, learn from new information and experiences. They can also make detailed recommendations to users and experts.
Now, before we continue, we want to clarify the difference between artificial intelligence and automation, as many people get the two confused. According to an article posted in the National Library of Medicine titled Artificial Intelligence in Pharmacy, an Overview of Innovations, automation is defined as machines which carry out repetitive tasks, while AI refers to the exhibition of human-like behaviors or intelligence by any computer or machine. Traditionally, automated robots and machines were not built to possess these intelligent capabilities, even though they may be able to move or carry objects independently. But recently, AI and automation have been combined to produce machines that can mimic both human intelligence and carry out repetitive tasks, incorporating the sense of cognitive learning to a machine. This can help take the mundane workload off humans and free up crucial time for other, more important tasks where human value is irreplaceable.
Now that we have established what AI exactly is, let's take a look into some of the current ways AI is being implemented in pharmacy. We talked about earlier how AI is now being incorporated into automated machines. A great example of this is at the University of California and San Francisco Medical Center. They prepare and track medications using AI-powered robotic technology. They claim that the technology has prepared 3.5 million medication doses without error, claiming the robot has been proven to be far superior to humans in both of size and ability to deliver accurate medications.
Another implementation of AI is in clinical decision support systems, which are tools that aid pharmacists in clinical judgment. According to Pharmacy Times, AI-driven decision support systems help pharmacists choose the right drug, dosage, and identify possible drug interactions and adverse events, reducing the likelihood of medication errors and saving patients' lives. In addition, AI can also monitor large amounts of patient data and identify early signs of AEs, allowing timely interventions and preventing serious consequences. AI-powered systems may monitor a patient's compliance with their drug regimen and provide reminders and individualized notifications to promote compliance, which can improve medication compliance and patient outcomes.
That's awesome, Nick. Clearly, AI and technology are already having a massive impact on pharmacy and will improve the lives of patients, but AI will also have a massive impact on the role of healthcare workers in general. For example, according to an article posted in the National Library of Medicine titled Artificial Intelligence in Pharmacy, an Overview of Innovations, around the world, 62% of healthcare organizations are thinking of investing in artificial intelligence soon, while 72% believe that AI will become crucial with how their business operates in the near future.
Adding on to that, as most of the healthcare world shifts to AI-driven technology, the roles of healthcare workers around the world will begin to drastically change as they adapt and learn how to use and work with AI. Therefore, it is crucial for young students interested in healthcare to learn about AI, as their careers will be majorly impacted by it. Furthermore, if most of the healthcare world sees AI as a big part of the future, then learning about it now will give you a head start. Knowing how AI is being used in pharmacy, like making prescriptions safer, helping doctors make decisions faster, and creating new medicines, means you'd be one step ahead if you ever want to work in the healthcare field.
It is clear that AI has a major impact on current and future pharmacy practices. However, it is not easy to implement and bridge this technology with pharmacy. To understand how this is done, it is crucial to learn about pharmacy informatics.
Now, many of you might be wondering what pharmacy informatics is. Pharmacy informatics is defined by the American Society of Health System Pharmacists as the integration and use of knowledge, information, technology, data, and automation in the medication use process.
Thanks, Yusuf. According to an article posted in the National Library of Medicine called Pharmacy Informatics, where medication use and technology meet, informatics pharmacist manages the databases that support pharmacists' clinical and administrative role, making sure that the databases, electronic medical records, and drug distribution systems are built to promote the safe use, dosing, and prescribing of medications, and to deliver and document the best practices in pharmaceutical care. Therefore, pharmacy informatics is essential for integrating artificial intelligence into pharmacy practice because it's able to establish the infrastructure, data management, and system connectivity needed for AI to operate effectively.
Now that we've learned a little bit about the impact of AI in pharmacy, we're going to switch gears and speak with an expert in the field to provide us with some more insight. Our guest expert today is Dr. Joseph Lassiter. Currently, he is the Managing Director and Chief Pharmacy Informatics Officer at Bizant. So, Dr. Lassiter, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on to discuss one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So before we start, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and the path you took in the pharmacy field?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a winding path in pharmacy, and it's been very grateful for the opportunity to learn all about pharmacy has to offer. And I think a common thread through my career is when someone says, "Hey, would you like to do X?" I have said yes, and that has led me down many paths in pharmacy, which I think that's why pharmacy is such a great background to have. So starting with my education, in the dark ages, I received my Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy from St. Louis College of Pharmacy, go Utectics, and then returned in 2001 to obtain a Master's of Science in Administrative Pharmacy with a focus on managed care pharmacy. And then practiced for a while and returned to obtain my Doctor of Pharmacy degree from the University of Florida in 2011. And recently, I'm a big proponent of continuous professional development and taking on new programs and opportunities as they come along. So I decided to round out my skill set in technology by completing a Chief Technology Officer program through the Wharton School of Executive Education. And that was an amazing chance to connect with technologists from all sorts of backgrounds and experiences, and not just in healthcare. So as far as practice, I started off my career in retail pharmacy, and that led me to go back and get my master's degree. And then after that, pivoted to working in the managed care industry and the pharmaceutical industry. And I spent the majority of my career after that in health system leadership and practicing at academic medical centers in a couple different states. And then the most interesting thing I've probably done is after that, I was able to take over the ownership of a company, the Robertson Group, which is a specialized pharmacy informatics and technology consulting firm that was based in Portland, Oregon, and servicing the United States in this field. More recently, the Robertson Group was acquired by my current employer, Bizant, and so I've worked here for the past 2 years as a managing director and chief pharmacy informatics officer. I think it's also pretty important for me to maintain professional development and involvement with our organization. So I've been very active in the American Society of Health System Pharmacists, where I had the pleasure of being the past chair of their section of Pharmacy Informatics and Technology Executive Committee. And I'm currently on the section's Leadership Executive Advisory Panel.
That's great. It sounds like you've had a lot of great experiences and expertise in the world of pharmacy and technology. And we're glad that you're here today to give us some insight into the future of pharmacy.
So I know that there are a lot of people out there who do not know what an informatics pharmacist is, students included. So a deeper dive would be beneficial to learn. Can you explain what an informatics pharmacist is and what they do?
Really, as pharmacists, I see our goal is to optimize and own medication use for our patients and for our colleagues who also are involved in medication use, such as nurses, physicians, and other clinicians. So informatics for me is an extension of that, where pharmacists are really using technology solutions to optimize medication use for our patients, clinicians, and other interested parties, caregivers as well. I think the difference is informatics really looks at patient care. I like to call it indirect patient care because we're looking at patient care from a population-based level rather than an individual level where you're in a clinic, you're talking to a patient and taking care of them. One of the most powerful things for me was when I first started getting involved in electronic health record clinical decision support was the realization that I could write an alert that helped renally dose an antibiotic. And every single patient that came through the health system forevermore was able to benefit from that alert. Whereas if I was a direct patient care provider, I might only get to see the patients that get to see you when I'm on schedule. So this power of population health and being able to take care of populations to set up systems is really, I think, what informatics is all about. For me, informatics is the broad encompassing term about the use of health information technology in pharmacy practice. Our national organization calls it pharmacy informatics and technology, with technology being the hardware and informatics being kind of the services, the cognitive abilities, the processes, the workflows that go into it. You might also hear people break out automation and analytics as separate areas as well. I believe it's all covered under informatics, but sometimes people call out those areas specifically to draw additional attention to them. The main technology we have in pharmacy, besides the electronic health record, are various automation in areas to advance efficiency and help with operations. We also are a data hungry group of people, and so analytics is an important component of that. Aggregating information from disparate sources, whether that may be the automation itself, financial dashboards, the electronic health record. So aggregating all that information together, visualizing it in a way that makes sense that people can understand it, and empowering people to use that information to take action. So analytics is another area that's growing within pharmacy practices, maybe kind of a subspecialty of informatics.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting, and that's definitely something that I think many students would be interested in.
Once again, thank you for your insights into what an informatics pharmacist does and kind of like a day in the life with you guys. I was just wondering if a student were interested in this career path, what tools and tips could you give them that would lead them in the right direction?
So to me, the real value in pharmacy informatics is your brain as a pharmacist, as a clinician, as somebody who understands operations, how medications get to patients. Your real value, this may be shocking from an informaticist, but your real value is not the technology itself. I think that's something we can all learn and understand. What we could do is we can certainly hire somebody who has a computer science background and they can really understand the technology, but they can't understand what it's like to be a pharmacist. So your real value is as a pharmacist applying those principles to healthcare information technology to maximize those outcomes for our patients. So my suggestion would be to maximize your PharmD knowledge and make sure you're soaking all that up. None of that is going to go to waste in the course of practicing as an informaticist. I would say at this time, this hasn't always been the option, but I would strongly recommend pursuing PGY1, 2. So there's more programs out there that are combining those 2 degrees. So you spend 2 years at a site, you do your pharmacy practice first year residency program, and you're able to get exposed to all the areas of pharmacy practice over the course of a year. And then you spend your second year really focusing on technology and applying those principles. That hasn't historically been the case. Like myself, these programs weren't available, but I think now that there's a structured program out there, reputable, lots of options, that's really the best path. If you don't pursue it that way, other times people go practice for a couple of years or work in an operational role and then decide to convert later on. And there are certainly those opportunities there. The downside is that you have to craft the experience for yourself. Whereas like there's standards for these residency programs, which make sure you get exposed to all these different areas, automation, electronic health record, analytics, safety, those types of things. So the other piece of advice I would recommend to you is this is something that's interest to students is to get involved now. All the people that I know, my colleagues who are great informaticists, got early involvement as a student. And this can be as easy as volunteering to be on a work group at the national or local level. And the most of the time when I've led or been part of those groups, have been very welcoming to students to listen and to participate and explore and get feedback. So I think that, starting as a student, getting involved early, and then that'll help kind of facilitate your entrance into a postgraduate training program. It's always also helpful to have a mentor. I know this is probably something that is hammered into you in the classroom, but it's very valuable. You're just someone who can give you some career advice, help you navigate things. It can be as formal or informal as you like. You can meet once a month, you can meet quarterly over the course of the year, but just get some feedback. People can review your resume, they can connect you with people they know. You can learn from their difficulties or challenges or their successes as well. So finding someone whose life looks a little bit how you want your life is a good reflection and a good way to get kind of entered into the field.
Okay, thank you for your insight on that. It sounds like pharmacy informatics plays a big role in automating and optimizing healthcare data collection. Our research shows that AI can really help with this. To transition into the impact of AI on pharmacy, my first question is, what does the role AI has in informatics pharmacy?
So the aim of AI is to really simulate human learning, whether that be problem solving, creativity, reasoning. And I really believe AI is a tool we should pay attention to. I think it has the potential to transform and support pharmacy practice. Where I see this as being useful, we've gone from the age probably when I was in pharmacy school where we were fighting for information. We had paper charts with people writing down things about what was going on with the patient. Fast forward to 2024, we have large data sets with everything from the patient's blood pressure from the last 10 years at the clinic. We have their financial history. We have the research, the clinical trials they were in, every medication they've gotten and when it was administered. So we have almost too much information right now for a human to be able to parse out and find the signal versus the noise in all that information. So harnessing these large data sets, I think, is one key item where AI can be useful. Then supporting repetitive and administrative tasks, which can be delegated to someone else, such as an AI chatbot, so that not only pharmacists, but pharmacy technicians as well can really practice at the top of their license and do things that only a human should be doing, making clinical decisions. Automating processes, supporting patient safety enhancements. And I think really one of the things that we're all looking for AI to do is reduce the overall administrative healthcare costs that are out there. So as you might imagine, machine learning and AI is driving interest in this area to reduce the number of denials, reduce the burden from the physicians, pharmacists, and their staff to be able to drive these costs down.
Thank you for your insight. Now to dive deeper into the current state of AI, could you provide us with some current examples of AI applications that you find most impactful?
So in most health systems today, there are drug information centers that answer complex questions from physicians and pharmacists, and a human reviews the data, writes up answer, gets it back to the clinician. Also at most health systems, there's formulary management where there's a complex monograph put together that talks about the pros and cons of the drug and the place on formulary, the cost of the medication. InPharmD aims to reduce the time to value on these products. And I'm not affiliated with the company at all. This is just an observation. And what they do is they'll synthesize the information from the available literature. Then it goes to a clinician with training in drug information or clinical practice to review, edit, and approve that. And then it's provided to the end user who's requesting that. Then also all the questions that have been asked previously are shared with the person asking the question. It also has the ability to aggregate information from these monographs, and then a similar thing is done. Those monographs, that general information can be downloaded and customized to the client site, or it can be utilized as it is. So I think that's a great example. We still need clinical expertise, but it's really performing this function of synthesizing information, which a human can do, but why not utilize these tools to do something very similar? The other area I see this is really beneficial is we've seen AI starting to be used a lot more in diversion monitoring. Drug diversion is a challenge for any healthcare organization. And there's a lot of different sources that you're looking at. You're looking at the procurement of those medications, the ordering and inventory of it. You're looking at the administration, the patterns of administration from different nurses or other caregivers. You're looking at time clocking. So if I'm Jane Doe and I said I'm removing this fentanyl from the automated dispensing machine, am I actually on site at that time, or is somebody else using my name and logging in and reverting this medication? So right now for humans to look at all this, they're pulling time clock reports, automated dispensing cabinet reports, and trying to aggregate all this stuff together. AI can do those things for us. They can aggregate the information, flag things that are concerning, high level, low level, medium level risk. And then a clinician, someone who understands operations and practice, can review those and identify areas of concern to follow up more. But that, again, that time to value, that speeds up that process a lot quicker and identifies issues that need to be resolved head on.
Well, it sounds like AI already has such an immense impact in the current world of pharmacy. But as AI and technology further develop, how do you see AI transforming the roles of pharmacists in the community, hospital, and industry settings?
Yes, I think so. I see AI as an ally in these areas. I think, as always with new technology, if we look back through the history of technology, there's a concern that this is going to replace humans. And that may be true for some industries, but I don't think that's true for our industry. I think these tools are really going to help support the roles we have right now and allow us to do more. I talked a little bit about diversion monitoring. Safety monitoring is another area. Right now, we rely on self-reported safety events. So a clinician has to say, "Oh, I think this was a safety issue," and send a report in. And there's no large-scale monitoring to do predictive analysis like, well, who is going to be injured? What are the patients that are higher risk for having a patient safety event? Now, some of this is described in the literature, but there's not a practice out there that says, okay, I was admitted to the emergency department. I'm a high risk patient for these 3 reasons. So we need to have a different intervention there. And I think AI can really help with some of that work. So I see those safety enhancements and then decision support as well, aggregating information from the electronic health record and presenting that information to clinicians who can act on that. This patient has had serious issues with their medications in the past. We need to be more precise about their renal dosing of medications and things like that, which will really kind of get our attention. So I see that in the community, hospital, and industry settings, I see us being able to leverage this technology to provide value quicker to our patients and to relieve us from some of the administrative burden that's out there.
It sounds like AI is going to be a major part of pharmacy in the future to better patient lives. However, we wanted to know, what are the limitations and downsides of AI in pharmacy practice, and where does human judgment remain irreplaceable?
Yeah, great questions. So I think we're right at the upswing of the use of AI. So with any new technology, there's always pitfalls. We're learning about it. I'm a little more cautious. Not an early adopter, but I'm an earlier adopter, if that makes sense. And so I think there's a lot of people racing to add AI features just to add AI features. So my bottom line is that all these things need to add value. If they're not adding value to how we take care of patients or reducing costs or increasing efficiency, then they're really not useful, right? You may have a chat bot that you can ask questions to, or have it generate pictures of you, doing different things, right? That's not really adding value, but it is fun. And so I think we have to really think about these features and what they're doing for us. So I think that's one concern I see in the industry, is just rushing to add and slap an AI label on it so people can say they have AI. Secondly, I have a big concern that these AI tools are being developed without the input of clinicians. A lot of startups that are working in this healthcare space are focused more on the technology itself, like the infrastructure to run AI, the engineers to drive the AI and design it. the hardware that's needed, but not like the processes that it's going to be used and how clinicians are going to be using it. So I think having pharmacists, physicians, nurses, other clinicians who have the appropriate domain knowledge involved in the design and monitoring of these products is really where we need to go. Similarly, at the local health system level, clinicians need to be involved in the procurement process to think about, are these tools going to be useful? Are they going to be more, provide conflicting information? Is this what we need to help us in the health system? Clinicians are the best voice for this. Sometimes our administrators are sold on the idea that if you implement this AI feature, you'll be able to reduce your cost and reduce staff. And that may or may not be true, but at the end of the day, these systems exist to care for patients, and that should be the overriding factor. AI itself has a couple concerns that we should all be aware of. Is that first is bias, that because AI models are trained on information, that there may be potential bias in there. For example, if we looked at something on renal dosing, a lot of the renal dosing literature was done in white males over a certain age. And so we're leaving out patient populations in there that may not have been trained on the AI might not have been trained on because there's not available information out there. Now, in that situation, I would say that doesn't replace clinical judgment. It just wouldn't be used in that situation, and we'd have to use our clinical judgment. But there's potential for bias. As with everything today, there are cybersecurity and privacy risks to be considered. As we train this information on these AI models, there's a lot of proprietary confidential health patient data that's in there. So we need to make sure that while we're taking advantage of these tools, we're not also opening ourselves to increased risk for patients' information. Lastly is, I think a lot of times with these AI models is the concern is transparency. We don't know how were they trained, what information is in there, what are the potential pitfalls that are self-selected by the people delivering the technology. So the more transparency is better, and I think we need, definitely to be participatory in this process so that we don't get left behind on the development of these technologies.
Thank you for all that great information, Dr. Lasker. I think it gave everybody listening a great insight into what informatics pharmacy does, and as well as like the future of AI and the current uses of AI within pharmacy. Just thank you again for all that great information. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us that's like on the top of your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that I'm really pleased with where our national organizations are working on this. If you haven't already, there's a ASHP statement that was published in 2020 about AI's role in pharmacy practice. I think there's a lot of good information there. The recent ASHP summer meeting was focused on AI as an AI summit and different use cases for this. So our profession is really up to speed on this, which is great. That hasn't always been the case. Sometimes we're slow to adapt technologies, particularly the boards of pharmacy. We have to work closely with them so they can understand the technologies and make sure that they are protecting the public, which is their role as we implement these new things. Recently, I wanted to share the ASHP's House of Delegates at the last meeting in July of this year unanimously approved a recommendation for the role of AI in pharmacy practice, stating that it does have a role and that we should embrace this role to help us with improved patient care in the medication use process. So I thought that was really encouraging.
Thank you. I think AI is going to be a major help in this whole world of pharmacy and healthcare in general. I already see it in my working at CVS and SSM, it being implemented to help pharmacists, identify red flags and make sure that everything goes well, patient-wise with outcomes and safety. And we just really appreciate you taking your time to kind of impart your knowledge and expertise on us.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Always nice to talk with you all and to share something I'm passionate about. I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions if they come up through the course as you share this with your colleagues in the class, or if you have any other questions, you guys know how to get a hold of me.
Again, big thanks to Dr. Lasker for providing this great insight to us. Pharmacy and technology are evolving quickly, and you can be part of that change. If you're passionate about healthcare, love problem solving, or are curious about how AI is transforming industries, now is the perfect time to start learning. Look at the pharmacy programs, explore tech courses, and get involved in STEM activities. The future of health It needs innovators, and that could be you, helping save lives every day. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you are as excited about the future of healthcare as we are.
Thank you, students, for hosting the podcast today, and thank you, listeners, for joining us. Please share this episode with your friends and on your social media outlets, and seek out the other Dose of Knowledge podcasts on the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast page that can be found on your favorite podcasting channel.